My name is Thiago Carlucci. I am head of global campaign marketing, and we have Aaron McCullough, our sales engineer, that will be guiding us through the journey of the demonstration. Okay. Just a little bit before about ElectroNeek, we are much more than a software vendor. Okay, we are a full business suite that enables you to build, sell, and support automation and RPA service business. Okay, we go much beyond being just a software vendor, and we really focus on the growth of your business. So you will see, Aaron will demonstrate for us, you will see that the platform has a very complete approach into the business. So it has the development environment, which is the automation hub. It has all of the business environment, which is the business hub, and also all of the support environment, which is the service hub. So it is a very complete business suite that will enable you to start and ramp up your automation service business. Okay, so without further ado, I hand over to Aaron to take us on this journey with the demonstration of the platform.
Perfect. Thanks, Thiago. Yeah, let's get right into it. So let's start off with a bit of a demo. So we'll go over kind of the three different hubs and go a little more in depth into each one of those individual modules of each of the hubs here. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to switch over to our portal here. So our platform consists of the three main hubs. So we have our automation hub, which includes the tools to build, deploy, and manage your automation projects. We have our service hub. So that includes the support related features such as our support and help centers, as well as our community forum. And we have our business hub, which includes assets to help boost your RPA business. What you can see here is the My ElectroNeek home portal. So this is where you'll be able to gain access to all the different modules of the various hubs. We have organized the navigation menu on the left-hand side, or the left-hand side here, into the three main hubs. So we have our business hub and our automation hub, and all the individual modules are be able to navigate through there. This is where you'll be able to download the Studio Pro application, as well as the Bot Runner application through the portal here. So you'll also be able to access all your account information through the portal. So this includes the information on your account, where you'll be able to add new users, change roles, set access levels, and more. So from here, let's take a closer look at our automation hub. So our automation hub, as I said, is where you'll be able to have all the tools you need to build, deploy, and manage your automation projects. So this includes the Studio Pro application, where you'll be able to, which is our low-code development environment. This also includes our Bot Runner, which is the application required to run an ElectroNeek bot. And as well, we have access to the Orchestrator, which is our cloud-based management tool. In our automation hub, we also have access to the recipes, which are pre-made bots and tutorials. So from here, let's take a little bit closer look at our Studio Pro application. So I'll go ahead and bring it up here. So this is the Studio Pro application. It is our low-code development environment. This is where you're going to start building your bots and kind of creating everything and testing them through the IDE here. In the middle, we have what we call our canvas. So this is where you're going to be able to drag and drop bots, or drag and drop activities over from the left-hand side menu on to start building a workflow from here. So it's very easy to drag and drop activities to start building up that workflow. If we look at the left-hand side menu, as I said, this is where we have all our activities. So under the activities, they are grouped into individual groupings or functionalities. So under the general tab here, we have a number of activities related to logic. So this includes kind of if-then statements, do-while loop. You'll be able to assign values to variables, create a sub-program, which would be kind of like a sub-workflow, as well as set up any logs or console logs. You'll also be able to open any applications in the environment as well through these activities here. We also have a number of human-in-the-loop activities. So this includes the input dialog. So you'll be able to ask users for information, such as an email address. You'll also be able to display notifications to a user as well. You'll be able to select a file or folder, so they'll be able to navigate through the file system to select files if the workflow needs that. Under GUI or GUI automations, these are activities related to working with desktop applications. So you'll be able to interact via the mouse, as well as input information from the keyboard. You'll also be able to get and set different elements and work with different UI elements through these activities here. You'll also be able to manage the actual window itself. So you'll be able to maximize, minimize, activate the window, as well as close the window through these activities. As well, you can use machine vision to interact with elements on the page as well. So this is essentially taking a screenshot and then defining an area in that screenshot where the bot will then be able to click on and interact with through that way as well. Under OS automation, so these are going to be activities related to working with the operating system, of course. So you have ways to manage or change and work with different files and folders. You'll be able to use different credentials that have been set up, which we'll go over a little bit later as well. We have activities related to the clipboard. So you'll be able to read information, clear information, copy to the clipboard. And as well, different system activities. So be able to work with a command prompt, deal with the check for different processes, as well as kill different processes, and then as well shut down a computer if need be. Under Microsoft MS Office, so these are going to be activities specific to Microsoft applications. So this includes Word and Excel. We also have different activities related to reading emails through Outlook, as well as Office 365. Now, under web automation, so these are activities related to working with browsers and websites. So you'd be able to open up a specific URL, close a browser, find an iframe, execute JavaScript on that browser, as well as scrape structured data. You'll also be able to interact via the mouse. So you'll be able to click on elements, drag and drop as well. You'll be able to input information to the browser. So adding information to input fields. As well, you'll be able to interact with the UI elements. So get different properties, set values, and get values as well. Under Citrix and RDP, so these are different activities related to working with Citrix terminals, as well as remote desktop terminals. So you'd be able to use these activities to interact with those different terminals as well. Under programming, so these would be kind of helper or utility functions or our activities where you'd be able to use to give to more functionality. So you'd be able to execute JavaScript code as well as execute Python code. As well, we have a number of different string utilities. So you'd be able to determine if a certain text is found in a string or variable, as well as extract text from a string as well. So this allows you to, or prevents you from having to write your own code. So you'd be able to use those different functions without knowing specific coding. As well, we have similar utility functions to the date and time. So you'd be able to get the current date, calculate dates, export to a different format as well without having to write any code. You'll also be able to make API requests. So you'll be able to send and receive information based off of an API or HTTP request. This actually comes in handy, even though we just had a webinar last week about ChatGPT. So you'll be able to utilize that as well to make calls to those APIs. You'll also be able to connect to a database. So you'll be able to, and as well, be able to execute different queries on that database as well. If we go under email, so these are specific activities working with emails. So as I mentioned before, we do have the ability to interact with Outlook as well as Office 365, but through these other activities, you'll be able to work with other email providers such as Gmail as well. Under spreadsheets, so these would be specific activities related to spreadsheets. So not only will these activities work with Microsoft Excel, you'll also work with Google Sheets as well. So you'll be able to use Google Sheets. Under document processing, so these are different activities related to the processing of various documents. So you'll be able to work with different OCR engines. So that includes Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud, and Abby Cloud OCR. You also have the ability to create a recognition template. So if you're dealing with lots of different, let's say, invoices that are all built up in the same way, you'd be able to create a recognition template, and then you'd be able to extract specific areas of the data as opposed to having to read everything and process them again and again. Under data extraction, so these are just other OCR activities that you'd be able to use. Each one has their different strengths as well to be able to work and extract data through more intelligently. Under PDF, so this is where you'd be able to, these are activities related to working with PDF, so you'd be able to read text. You'll also be able to convert to an image, so that comes in handy if you need to process a PDF through an OCR, you'd be able to convert to an image and then process it further through the OCR. As well, you'd be able to combine multiple files to a PDF. So let's say you have 5 Word documents that you want combined into a single PDF, you'd be able to use that activity to create that single PDF. And lastly, connectors. We have connectors to Google Drive, so you'd be able to interact and manage different files and folders, as well as upload files to a Google Drive account as well. So that's kind of a high-level overview of all the different activities that we have available right now in the Studio Pro. If we move over to the Elements tab, so this is where you're going to be able to see a list of various elements that you may have set up. So this includes desktop elements, browser elements, as well as terminal elements. So these would be, say, for example, in a browser, it'd be like a submit button, a next button, an input field, that sort of thing, where different activities will then be able to use those elements and then interact with based off of their functionality. So if we go over, we also have our project view. So this just gives you a kind of a high level view of different files in the folders in the particular project. Now, if we switch over from the left-hand side to the right-hand side here, we have our properties and variables tab. So the properties tab is where you'd be able to set up and configure the various activities. So for example, you'd be able to set everything up here. One of the good things that I really like about this is that be able to link directly to the knowledge base. So if you click on the learn more on knowledge base, it's going to take you directly to the documentation for each activity. And that way you'll be able to get more information very quickly without having to navigate through multiple menus or anything like that. Now in the variables tab, this is where you'll be able to see the various variables that you may have set up for this particular workflow. And then once it's run, you'd be able to see those values as well. Now on the bottom here, below our canvas, we have the console. So this is where you'll be able to see the various execution as well as any debug logging that you may have set up. So once the bot is run, you'll be able to see an indication, get information based off of there. Now to run a bot, you simply need to click the green play button up at the top hand window here. So that way you'll be able to run it directly through Studio Pro. Now, if we go into the file menu, there are 2 file options that I like to highlight here. There's the export to Neeks. So that way you'll be able to export this whole workflow to a Neeks file, and then you'll be able to run it independently or outside of Studio Pro through as long as you have the bot runner application installed in the environment. Now we also have the publish to the orchestrator. So we'll go a little more in depth later into the orchestrator itself. But once you've created your workflow, you've tested it out, you're ready to deploy it into let's say a client environment, you'd be able to publish it directly to the orchestrator instance that you have connected the Studio Pro to, and then you'll be able to manage it through the orchestrator software itself. Now, if we go over to the settings tab here, there's a number of different settings that we'd like to highlight here. So under the credentials, so this is where you're going to be able to set up various login and password information to various systems and even websites as well. So for example, I have my Gmail, I have a HubSpot connection, as well as a MySQL login and password to connect to various aspects or activities. Now, the credentials here are saved as are not saved as part of Studio Pro. They're not part of the code. They're not part of Bot Runner, the application itself. They are provided or saved in the Windows Credential Manager as well. So there's no risk of having credentials leaked or any information extracted there. So for security purposes, it's very, very secure. Now we also have the ability to set up different services. So you'll be able to connect your Google account or Microsoft account, as well as set up your Abby OCR through here. Now this comes in handy, let's say, for example, with the Google, if you want to work with Google Drive or Google Sheets, you'd be able to connect your services here, and then it'd be able to give access to those, to the Google Sheets or Google Drive locations as well. Now under the web browser, so this is where you'd be able to set up the default web browser. So we do support Chrome as well as Edge and Internet Explorer as well. Through Microsoft Activities, so this is where you'd be able to set up the interaction mode with Excel. So let's say, for example, you're deployed a bot to an environment that they don't have Microsoft Excel installed, but you still need to read and write to an Excel file. You'd be able to do that through here. So instead of choosing Microsoft Native, you'd be able to choose generic. So it'd be able to use different Excel functions, but in a limited capabilities, but you'd still be able to update and read from an Excel file. Now through the proxy, so this is where if you need to go through a proxy, you'd be able to set that up here. And similar to a certificate, if you need to set up different certificates, you'd be able to connect those through here. Now under the execution tab, this is where we have different settings for when the bot is run through Studio Pro, so different capabilities and status menu or displays, as well as debugging settings. And lastly, through the interface, this is where we have, you'll be able to change the language, as well as the theme here. So that kind of wraps up the various settings of Studio Pro, as well as the kind of an overview of the Studio Pro application itself. So from here, we're going to jump over into a little bit detail of the bot runner application. So let's go ahead and bring that up. So the bot runner application, as I mentioned before, this is the application that's required to run an ElectroNeek bot. So it can either be run or run through and connected through the orchestrator itself, or you can simply run it outside as long as you have that Neeks file exported. Now, I should also mention that there are no licensing restrictions. So let's say, for example, you need to install the bot runner into 50 different client environments. You're free to do so without hitting any sort of licensing restrictions. Now, if we go under the license, this is where you're going to connect to the orchestrator itself. So they'll be able to connect to the orchestrator and then see this bot runner instance and manage it through that interface there. You're also going to be able to set a specific bot runner name. So say, for example, by default, it's going to use the computer name, but let's say you've installed it into a client environment, you'd be able to give it a unique name through here, and that's going to then reflect in the orchestrator itself. Under credentials, so these are going to be similar to what I just showed in Studio Pro. So you'll be able to set up different login and passwords. Again, they are set up through the Windows Credential Manager as opposed to saving in the actual application itself, but these would be unique to the environment that you're installing the bot runner application. Same goes with services. You'd be able to connect different services through here, as well as a proxy and certificates, and well, different settings for the execution of the actual bot. Now we also have you be able to change the interface as well from light to dark, and you can change the language through the menu below here. So that's an overview of the bot runner application. So from here, the next kind of part of the automation hub, let's take a look at our orchestrator. So I'm just going to go into our portal here, and this is where you'd be able to access the orchestrator itself. So when you first load it up, it's going to give you the dashboard. So here you have a kind of a high level overview of kind of what's happening in this particular orchestrator instance. You'll be able to see kind of what's happening at a quick glance, as well at the top right hand corner here, you'll be able to navigate to different orchestrator instances. So if you have multiple instances, you'd be able to navigate using the menu at the top right hand corner here. Now let's go a little bit deeper into the orchestrator. We have in our workflows tab. So this is where you're going to see the various workflows and bots that have been published from the Studio Pro application into this instance here. So you're first presented with kind of a general overview of kind of what's happening in this particular orchestrator instance. If we kind of click into one of the bots here, we're given a little more information as well. So different things you'll be able to set up through here. You'll be able to determine different information as well as the number of assigned bot runners. So you can have, each workflow can be assigned to multiple bot runners for execution. As well, you'll be able to see the next launch time as well as schedule time if that's been configured. As well, you can, with the status indicator here, you're kind of at a high level at a glance, you'll be able to see kind of what the status is of this particular workflow is. You also have the ability to set up email alerts on failures. So you'll be able to set up or include multiple emails in here. So if there's any issues when the bot is run, then you'll be notified via email. You also have the ability to configure a webhook link through here. So this way you'll be able to execute and launch a bot through an API call. So through an HTTP request, you'll be able to configure and set that up through here. Now you'll also be able to configure the collection of various logs. So you have the execution logs as well as console logs. So once those are executed, they're going to be able to be displayed through the actions menu in the run history table at the bottom here. Now you're also able to execute a bot through this interface as well. So instead of running on a schedule, you can trigger it manually through the orchestrator. You simply need to choose the bot runner that you've connected to this workflow and then click the Run Now button here. Now under the Run History tab, this is where you're going to see a history of all the various executions for this particular bot. As well as I mentioned, you'll be able to access the logs through the action menu here. So if we go ahead and click on that, we're presented with information where we can then view that logs for that particular execution, as well as save it to a file if you need to export it. Now, if we go to the assign bot runners, so this is where you're going to set up various bot runners that have been connected to the orchestrator instance. And then through here is where you're going to assign the workflow to those bot runners. So you'll be able to set up through multiple ones here. So you can just through this menu here, select it through the checkbox and then include it through those ways. Now under the schedules tab, so this is where you're going to be able to set the schedule for the particular bot. So you can set up multiple schedules as well. So through that, you'll be able to set up either a repeatable or a one-time run, as well give kind of a any number of different date time options available here. You also have the ability to set up restrictions. So let's say, for example, you want the bot to run Monday to Friday. You'd be able to set Sunday and Saturday as excluded days through this interface as well. So that's kind of an overview of the workflows tab of our orchestrator. Next, let's switch over to the bot runners tab here of the orchestrator. So through the bot runners tab, so this is where you're going to be able to connect those various bot runner applications and instances to this orchestrator instance. So through here, initially you're provided with a view of what bots are currently not approved but are connected, as well as which ones are approved. Now, to connect a bot runner to the orchestrator, it's done through a token method. So you'll be able to come to the tokens tab, click generate access token, give it a unique name so identify it visually, so specific to whatever the client environment or the bot or the workflow potentially of what's being run, and then click generate will generate a token. Once you've taken that token and put it into the bot runner application, then it's going to show up under the bot runners tab here. So it'll first initially display in the not approved section. So this gives you the opportunity to validate and make sure that, yes, I want this bot runner application tied to this orchestrator instance. And then once it's approved, you've hit the check mark here, it's then going to display down in the approved section. So from here, you're able to also remove it from the particular bot runner or from the orchestrator instance. So you'll be able to remove that if it's no longer being used. So that's kind of again, a high level overview of the bot runners tab of our orchestrator. So next, if we go into the integrations tab, so there's a few different integrations that we have available. So here you'd be able to get information as well as connect to the bots to different Zapier or Zaps as they have it, as you'd be able to, and that'll help kind of as a complementary sort of connection where you'd be able to gain access to over 1,000 different apps as well without having to kind of rebuild those integrations as well. Now under API, this is an API specific to the orchestrator instance itself. So this way you'll be able to manage the bots through an API calls as opposed to going into the workflows or bot runners tab. You'll be able to do all the same actions of adding, launching, and removing those instances through API calls or through the UI interface through here. So we have a number of documentation based off of that where you'd be able to make different changes and make those calls through here. So those are some of the integration tab. If we go over to the settings menu here, there's simply just one setting where you'd be able to change the name of the orchestrator. So this is how it will be essentially viewed in the menu up here, and you'll be able to change it depending on the use case. Now, if we go into multi-tenancy, so this is where we're going to see you'll be able to connect different orchestrator instances, potentially different teams will be able to give you access, as well as you'll be able to give access to different teams and to your orchestrator instance as well through this interface. Now that kind of wraps up kind of the overview of Orchestrator. So from here, the last item in the Automation Hub is going to be our recipes. Now, our recipes, as I mentioned before, these are going to be essentially kind of tutorials and how-to documentation, as well as different ideas about different use cases, including business use cases as well as internal use cases. So we have a number of different recipes available. Each one of these contains a kind of a workflow description, and any prerequisites gives you an overview as this what this particular use case is it's providing as a solution or of a problem. And then as well, you'll be able to watch a video of the particular bot being demoed. So this particular bot, we'll be able to see it running live through the video. And as well, you'll be able to get a step-by-step guide as to how to build this bot as well. So you'll be able to follow this tutorial and build your own bot locally. As well, if you need to view a video, you'll be able to see a step-by-step video of the creation of the bot as well. Now, in addition to all the documentation and the videos, you also have the ability to download the bot. So you'll be able to download the project files and be able to integrate those into your Studio Pro application quickly as well. And then as well, if there's any supporting files that are needed, you'll be able to download those as well. So for the recipes, we have a number of different availables. Ones we just released a whole bunch of ones related to the Chat GPT or GPT-3. So those are kind of very cool to look and see what you can do with ElectroNeek bot through Chat GPT. As well, we have a number of different internal automation use cases that we just released as well. So those are lots of different information, and we're always going to be adding more and more recipes to these as well. So that kind of wraps up all the different modules of the Automation Hub. So from here, let's take a little bit closer look at some of the things that are included in the Service Hub. So as I said, the Service Hub is going to be is designed to help our clients quickly come on board, as well as get all the help and services they need to be successful. So that includes our support center, our help center, as well as our community forum. So of course, access can be found through the My ElectroNeek home portal shown here. If we take a little bit closer look at our support center, so this is where you'll be able to create and monitor tickets for incidents, help, or feature requests. It's simple enough to create a new ticket. You simply need to just click the Create a Ticket button up at the top right-hand corner here. And then you simply just need to input some of the required fields. So this includes the type. So what type of ticket this is. So we have a number of different options shown here, as well, which product it's for. And then you provide a subject, describe the issue. You can include emails and users who be able to view these tickets as well. And as well, you'll be able to attach a file if you need to help, or if it would help for providing the solution to this ticket. Now, in addition to kind of the usual product issue, questions, or feature requests, you can also request some other items here. So this includes development support. Now, development support is a little bit different than just like a product issue or a question. It's more when you're, let's say, for example, you're working on a project and you've hit some challenges that you're not too sure how to overcome, and you need a little bit more technical expertise. Through development support, you'd be able to request that. And our development consultants will be able to help you and support you over those challenges as well. Now, you'll also be able to request help for enterprise bids. So if you're working on a particular bid for a client, you'll be able to submit that bid to us. We'll be able to review it and provide support and feedback to help you become more successful in those bids. And lastly, you'll be able to get more information for penetration tests or security. So if you or your clients have specific security related questions, you'll be able to submit those through a support center, and we'll be able to provide answers to those as well. So that's an overview of our support center. From here, let's take a little bit closer look at our help center. So I alluded a little bit to our help center as part of the Studio Pro, where you'd be able to have it to link directly to the documentation for the Studio Pro activities. So we have that information here. We've split up the information kind of in our help center into kind of the three main hubs. So we have our information or documentation related to the business hub. Everything for our automation hub is located here, and same for our support service hub. So you'd be able to link directly to the support center as well as our community forum through here. So that's kind of a high level of our help center here. You'd be able to access this directly and get more information into all the different hubs, as well as our getting started guide and different release notes and our API documentation as well. So from our help center, let's take a little bit closer look at our community forum. So our community forum is where you'd be able to participate and interact with the entire ElectroNeek community. So you can search for existing topics, as well as create new topics for any questions you may have. Now, our forum is actively monitored by our team, so you can typically expect to receive a response within a day, as opposed to relying on the community for answers. You'd be able to not only rely on the community for answers, but also get direct answers from our team as well. So that's kind of wraps up the three modules of our service hub. So from here, let's take a little bit closer look at our business hub and the various modules we have available for there. So our business hub is where you'd be able to essentially where we have the various assets to help boost your RPA business. So this includes the ability to set up different reselling. So as a client, you'll be able to resell the various either Studio Pro or Orchestrator to your customers. As well, you'll be able to request trial licenses so they can test out the software as well. So depending on the tier you are set up on, there's different reselling percentages based off of that. Now, if we go into the campus, so our campus consists of courses and certifications for not only how to use the products, but also courses on different journeys tailored to the RPA industry. So we have a number of different courses tied to a marketing journey. So you'll be able to get information and content based off of a marketing standpoint, as well as an executive side, a sales journey, as well as our starter kit. So you'll be able to get information on how to build your first bot, and then different resources based off of that. Now, our campus also ties into our wiki. So a lot of the documentation and information that's referenced in our campus is available on our wiki site here. So as you can see, we've split it up on our wiki into the similar different sections. So we have our starter kit, marketing journey, sales, and executive journeys all grouped in here. So you'll be able to access the different videos and information. You'll be able to get different sales deck templates and that sort of thing available through our wiki to kind of help boost your RPA business as well. So that wraps up kind of the three main hubs. So that wraps up our business hubs, and we wrapped up the different modules of our three main hubs here. So I think kind of wraps up our live demo. And from here, we'll go over into, I guess, into our QA session. So we'll take a look and see if we've got any questions available that we can kind of go a little bit deeper into.
Awesome. Perfect, Aaron. Thank you so much for that demo. It's awesome to see the platform and how it works. One question that usually comes up in our sessions is about, and more recently, it's become even more important, is our integration with ChatGPT and use cases, possible use cases out of that. I mean, we had a webinar last week on that, and it's a topic that is trending right now. So can you tell us a little bit about integration with ChatGPT and what we can do with that?
Definitely, yeah, for sure. So, kind of right out of the box, you can integrate with ChatGPT using the as I kind of showed a little bit in the Studio Pro demo is that API call or the HTTP request activity. So you'll be able to use that and use the documentation that that ChatGPT or OpenAI has provided to connect there. You simply just need to create your access token or your key, include that in there, and then set it up in the proper parameters to send that information out and then pull it back in. As I also mentioned, we do have I think about 5 different recipes right now, and we're going to be enhancing those as well for different use cases. So one was, for example, to summarize an article content. So the bot itself goes and opens up the URL, grabs the content, and then through the HTTP request activity, sends that to the GPT-3 API and says, please summarize this article in 100 words or less, and then it'll provide that response, and then you can kind of use that in the next steps of the workflow. So it's very integrated, very easily, and ready to go, kind of without too many changes or work required.
Awesome. I have another question here. Is there a limit to the number of bots that can be created, developed in the platform?
There are no limits, so it's limitless, I guess you could say. Yeah, so there's no limits as opposed to some of the different competitors in the market where they charge per bot and that sort of thing. With ElectroNeek and the platform, it's unlimited bots. So you pay the one price, and then you get you can create, if you want to create 1 million different bots, you can do that. So there's no limitations on that side.
Awesome. One more question. Can legacy applications be automated using the ElectroNeek platform?
Definitely, yeah. That's one of the key things about the ElectroNeek platform is that you do have the ability to work with legacy applications. So if they don't have a good API, or if it requires a lot of coding and that sort of thing, you can use a lot of the different activities to simply just open up the application and navigate through there using those kind of the GUI or the desktop activities that we have available. So it's very easy to work with legacy applications.
Perfect. And one last one, can a workflow call another workflow?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So in the Studio Pro, we have an activity called a subprogram. So you'll be able to make separate. You potentially, I mean, it's always a good idea for performance reasons to kind of split your workflow up into kind of different sections that you could then even test or kind of compartmentalize in between there. So you'll be able to create a subprogram where it's then going to go and call that other workflow and kind of do what it needs to do, and then come back to the process. So if it's a fairly intensive process that's required to, say, create a new user in HubSpot, you'd be able to kind of put that all into a separate workflow and then call that based off of there. So if it's in a loop, you'd be able to kind of set it up through that way. But yeah, definitely it's supported and it's definitely recommended.
All right, awesome. Okay, I don't see any further questions. If you can quickly turn to the next slide there, Aaron.
There
I just want to, I want to ask everyone to take a second here and scan this QR code. This will allow you to book a meeting with our account executives. It will give you the opportunity to have a more customized discussion on how ElectroNeek can support your business. So go ahead and scan that QR code. Make sure to set up a meeting with us. We are available to support you and enable you to build, sell, and support your automation service business, okay? Be on the lookout for our next webinar. It will be on Thursday this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the competitive landscape in the RPA space and why each of these RPA vendors out there are a right fit or not for your business, and how ElectroNeek plays an important role in the RPA and the automation space overall. Okay, so thank you so much. We have the link here on the chat, the link to the next webinar. So make sure that you go ahead and also click on that and register to the next webinar. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.